Yo, hold on, let me do something. Oh man, that's weird to hear your voice playing in the background. I'm using Voicemeeter. I was trying to check out my audio levels. But what's up, people? It's your boy MM2K back again with another episode of PlayStation Pep Rally. This is the show where we talk all things PlayStation. This is our show for the PlayStation gamer. Let me do this. I want to let everybody know that we're live. So boom, 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 boom. All right. So we have a very special show lined up, but we also have a great schedule today. Our schedule today is going to include not only this stream, but after this stream, like around, what time did we say? I think 11 o'clock. No, can't be 11 o'clock. I think it's going to be like 12. Hold on. Let me take a look. Let's pull that up, MM. Let's pull that up. Come on. All right, so the schedule for today is 12 p.m. After the show, around 12 p.m., we're going to do a Let's Play. But it's going to be a special Let's Play. We're going to spend I guess the first half an hour doing like a spoiler cast, or not a spoiler, but a review of Horizon Zero Dawn. That's a game that I haven't finished, and I'm going to be honest with you, I have no intentions of finishing that game. This probably isn't the best place for me to say this as a PlayStation gamer, but Horizon Zero Dawn didn't get a fruitcake from me the year that it didn't get a Christmas gift from me the year that it came out. I'll just leave it like that. And I'm not finishing that game, but I am highly intrigued in trying Horizon Forbidden West. I feel like that quality wise, especially with a lot of the things that Sony has learned over the years through their PlayStation studios, I just feel like that quality wise should be a better game. So I'm going to give that game a shot. That being said, we are going to play Horizon Forbidden West after we look at the spoilers for Horizon Zero Dawn. Then hopefully around 2 o'clock, maybe a little bit later, we're going to have the Greatness stream where we're going to be playing some PlayStation 5. All this is on PlayStation 5, by the way, but we're going to be playing God of War. We're going to get back into God of War. We're going to play some of that. So we're going to have fun with that. The Greatness stream. And that's going to be over at youtube.com/MM2K Gaming. So this show, of course, is here on Twitch. The spoiler show, along with the game stream of Horizon Forbidden West, will be here on Twitch. The Greatness stream will be on YouTube. All right. Just so we got all that together. MM2K Gaming, Hard Knock Digital Culture. That is the powwow, the partnership today. So I wanted to put that up there, make sure everybody was aware of that. How are our audio levels? Jonathan in the house. He's like, yo. What's going on, good brother? Good to see you as always. Thank you, Sean, again, for you being so kind and gifting us that game yesterday, man. I really appreciate that, bro. That was some cool stuff, and I hope I can provide some stellar entertainment in regard to that game for y'all. You know what I'm saying? And it just won't be sitting in my to-do list bucket. You know what I mean? We're gonna play that game, bro. All right, got a special show lined up for you guys today. I think this is gonna probably be our best PlayStation pep rally to date. Just bear with me. Hold on. Where the hell is my red Solo cup? Hold on. What the flying fig Newton? Where is my red Solo cup? Give me a second, y'all. Give me 1 second. I'm like all out of whack here. Didn't bring my red Solo cup. Messing up all over the place. Hold on 1 second. right. Give me a second to opine on this tea. You know me, I gotta have my tea daily. You know what I mean? Oh crap! I gotta pour it in this bottle because I didn't bring up my red Solo cup. All right, I'm spilling it all over myself. Thank goodness I'm not on camera. All right, so this is going to be undoubtedly, I think, one of our most provocative and possibly controversial PlayStation pep rallies, not for PlayStation gamers. People are going to say, MM2K, you're fear mongering. MM2K, where is this coming from? Especially because you were a Stadia supporter. And while you were a Stadia supporter, you cherished budgeted gaming. And why are you doing this now? Why are you riding this wave now? Anybody that comes at what I'm going to say today from that angle just hasn't been following my content. If you've been following my content, you understand how I came into this game. I came into this game as an Xbox enthusiast, but I still always had this concern reserved for Phil Spencer. Steve Ballmer running Microsoft and the people running Xbox, particularly what's the guy that used to run that? I can't believe that I forgot his name. Well, all the predecessors to Phil Spencer, pretty much. Donnie D, I wasn't the greatest on either, but I wasn't down on him the way that I am this current regime. Peter Moore, how could I forget Peter Moore? And Seamus Blackley and all them. Allard, Richard Allard, all of those people that predicated Phil Spencer and running Xbox, I think they did a fantastic job. But so when Phil brought in his new direction, I've always, Cold Blood Sensei in the house, I've always had reservations about what Phil was doing with the brand. Yo, Cold Blood, what you think about my rant yesterday? I couldn't even play the game. So even if you were trying to avoid spoilers for Azure, and if it wasn't for Sean gifted me Zero, you wouldn't have seen anything anyway because I just went on a Phil rant. They were baiting me in the chat. Poor Geek to Sneak. He was like, man, why don't y'all stop baiting me, man? I want to see this daggone game. But yeah, going back to my background, I didn't watch it. Okay, no, that's cool, man. There's something to keep in the pocket. Opposite of this, I think this will be better. But if you're feeling in an anti-Phil mood, you can pop that into. That particular link that I gave you is a snippet of the stream. Really, the stream was like, what, Sean, an hour and a half? And I spent 48 minutes talking about Phil and what I didn't like about Xbox. You know what I'm saying? Poor Geek to Sneak. He's our Xbox fan of the support squad. But he still hangs in there tight. But yeah, for those that haven't been following my content, which Cold Blood Sensei gets it. He's been following me since day one. Jonathan, he's been newer supporter, but he gets it as well. I've always been a staunch supporter of AAA hardcore gaming. That's what my whole platform is about. When I stumbled upon Stadia, though, I was engrossed by the technology that it presented and the opportunities that it presented long term as far as increasing the access of AAA hard knock gaming. If you guys remember, who was it? It was me, Project Storm, and shout out to Stadia Rav. We all had like a little mini debate because they were getting on my case because I kept knocking the indie games on Stadia. It's like indie games mean something, you know, and after listening to them and after looking at, you know, how indie games can help flourish a platform as well, I said, you know what? I can't just sit here and talk like the only games that matter are AAA games. And then, you know, I in my stint of following Stadia, and enjoying the platform, I did find indie games that I did enjoy. I'm not saying there's games like Van Helsing that's on PC. There's indie games that I like. But the games that change our perspective on gaming, the games that set the trends 99 times out of 100, are the AAA hardcore, the games that get talked about the most, are the AAA hardcore blockbuster games. They are genre defining. They increase what the capabilities that are done in gaming. They increase how engrossed you are in the ambiance and with the graphics and physics and things like that. And the combination of all that takes gaming to the next plateau. I've always been a steward for that. Always. So just because I was a little bit more sensitive to those that favor indie games, and I said, look, there's nothing wrong with you liking indie game. I've always said that, but my focus has always been on AAA hardcore games. That's most of the games that you see me stream. That's most of the games you see me talk about or make comparisons to. I will sit there and yes, give kudos and give flowers to a quality indie game. Of course. Why not? Because I can sympathize with people that don't do things exactly the way I do them. But it don't mean I don't stand for what I stand for. I always stand for what I stand for. Even though if I can sympathize with you and your causes, I still stand for what I stand for. And that's always been AAA games. And before I converted to liking Stadia, liking the technology, liking what it could possibly present, if it was in the right hands. And I'm not saying that towards the Stadia team. The direct Stadia team were fantastic. This is the upper brass of Google I'm talking about. But even though that flatlined, I still wanted to see the development of hardcore gaming. This channel is called HNDC. It kind of went on hiatus because my focus was on Stadia and cloud gaming. We wanted that portion of our brand to flourish, and I had to push that. So that took away from my ability to focus on Hard Knock Digital Culture. But that's what HNDC stands for. Hard Knock Digital Culture, hardcore gaming, all that stuff. And if you guys have been following my content like Cold Blood Sensei, you'll remember the podcast that we used to have. I used to have the podcast with Nethos. Shout out to Nethos. Me and Nethos would go back and forth because even though me and him were both Xbox fans, at the time, I was more disgruntled toward the product than he was. And we would have great podcasts. Those original NRO podcasts were fantastic. Check them out. I got them on over at MM2K Gaming. Those podcasts were great. That being said, I've always been a staunch believer in AAA hardcore gaming and it flourishing the gaming trajectory. Always. The podcast that we had of NRO where I brought Showstopper on, remember that one, Cold Blood, where I brought him on and I did a gotcha moment. I forgot what I tricked the hell out of him. When I brought on, what was that? Xbot 448. And then we had, who else did we have? We had a hell of a man. None of us on the panel agreed about anything. I think it was me, Dirt Griggity, Xbot, and Maximus. It was really me and Maximus versus Dirt and Xbot. And that was probably one of the best podcasts like ever that I've ever participated in. I would argue one of the best podcasts ever out there. We were highly staunch on our positions, but it was very cordial, friendly, and I would have hoped that we would have been able to continue it. But then I diverted my attention to Stadia. So for those of you that, again, just started following me as we brought up Stadia dosage, now cloud dosage, that's just a slither of what I represent. I represent the advancement of technology. Now I represent technological advances that bring gaming forward. I represent that totally. I want to see gaming enhanced. But that's not it. at the end of the day, you still got to have quality content, groundbreaking content that's pushing gaming forward. And it's not my fault. I've always talked, even in my Stadia stuff, I've always talked about my background. You guys just tuned it out. That's a you problem. That's not my fault. You hear what you want to hear. And that's why when I did my part 2 of Let's Talk About Boosteroid, I told you guys there's things that I miss from Stadia being around and the camaraderie that we had, but there's definitely things I do not miss. And that tuning out of core essential specifics is unfortunately rampant. Still is. You guys will get over it. When cloud gaming becomes mainstream, shut up, Cold Blood. When cloud gaming becomes mainstream, and you got to deal with the mainstream rebuttals that are out there on Twitter and elsewhere, oh, you'll learn that day. You'll learn the day. But I've always talked about my background. Hardcore AAA gaming is where it's at to me. And if you represent indie gaming, fine. I'm not mad at you. But this is what I represent. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. This is what I stand for. This is my brand. And I can respect your brand without me having to jambalaya and mold everything and try to melt your brand into mine. No, you stand for what you stand for. I stand for what I stand for. Okay? So now that we're in the clear about that, let's get to the chat and then we're going to get directly to the show because we got a hell of a show today. Let's see here. When is today's? Yo. Okay. It says didn't watch it. Okay, let me put all this out here. Wow. You guys are killing it, man. As usual. As usual. I got to put all these damn comments out here. You make my job so hard. So hard. So hard. All right. So it says, didn't watch it yet, brother. Just got off of work. Says Cold Blood. I bought and started Zero last night, said Sean. Yeah. I got to get a little bit further. Thank you. I'm going to be in there too, bro. Yeah, laugh out loud. The Nintendo Switch made me appreciate indies. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Definitely. And Stadia made me appreciate indies a little bit more. Indie games should be the side dish, not the main course. You know what, Cold Blood? That was my thought process because sorry about that. Very thirsty today. That was my thought process, Cold Blood, because I'm like, yeah, indies should be the side dish, but everybody should be wanting AAA games and wanting them to be pushed forward because that's the way I grew up. And this whole indie game thing, it's new to me. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of the indies games are celebrating the nostalgia of the 6-bit, 16-bit era, the 8-bit and all that other stuff, right? But I played those games way then, and games have improved now, and I'm down with the constant improvement of games. That's how it was when I was gaming. Going back and rehashing the lesser technology wasn't really a thing that I was used to. Like, who goes back and who goes back to Windows 95? Windows 95 was one of my favorite softwares for its time, for what it did for its time, right? How it revolutionized things for its time. That's always the prism that you put in them. But I'm not going back to Windows 95. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to technology, technology advances. This is not like comedy or dealing with sports or, you know what I'm saying? This is technology. So the thought of indie games to me really didn't sink in. But then there are people that like that nostalgia, and I'm okay with that. My thing is that as there's people that advocate for indie games, and shout out to people like Ninja Guy X and a lot of other people, my partner over there at clouddosage.com, Jack, he's a big advocate for indie games. You know, Shout out to all those people. There's nothing wrong with people advocating for indie games. Nothing wrong with it. But we need people advocating for AAA hardcore games. Because that's what really pushes the tech. Like, you can sit there and say, oh, well, we can do this with indie games or whatever. And then say, okay, now we made the latest technological advancement with gaming. But if you didn't test it with AAA games, you're leaving out a very important sector. And with all things that are technologically based, when people go buy something, they want to hear amazing capabilities, even though they're not going to use all those amazing capabilities. Like my brother always tells me, he's like, the biggest racket is a cell phone racket. He said, you hear all these capabilities and all these certain components that are in the phones. And he said 99% of them people don't even use. They just want to know that those capabilities are there in case they want to use it. And I think for everybody, rather for the average gamer, that's what it is. You know, like when you think about it, PlayStation may sell, 150 million, right? Or more, depending on which generation you look at. And out of 150 million, each God of War that comes out might only sell 15 to 20 million. Meaning 130 million people didn't touch it. But I bet you that they bought it because they've heard the accolades of God of War or heard of the accolades that come with this system. And then they're in the thought process is, wow, this platform creates a lot of cool games that people want. I'm not interested in that right now, but you never know. I'm just really looking for a system to play Call of Duty on, to play Fortnite on, but you never know. Knowing that the best games, whether they're games that I play or games that, are played in other circles, knowing that the best games are on this box, I'm going to buy this box. That's another important thing with AAA games. And the more and more that developers push the envelope to make these AAA games better and more explosive and more desired, the more boxes they sell. So that leaves like this sense of urgency or sense of dire need to continue to create some of the best games that are out there, which are exclusive titles. Now, and that led to my clip when you watch it, Cold Blood, where I talk about exclusive games and why they're important. A lot of people don't think they're important. I don't think they're important to make a platform important. That's not what I base their importance on. I think AAA games are important because they're indicative of a system to where at first, if you want to win, you have to lose. What do I mean by that? Talking about the console system. In order for a console platform to win, they first have to lose. What do I mean by that? Them first years that console was out on the market, and those first years really determine who's going to win a platform. It's very rare that a platform when a platform is on top and then it loses versus the competitors that were out around the same time. You know what I'm saying? The platform that, after a year or two generally has the most consoles out there usually ends up the winner. Like there is no, oh no, platform B that was, behind a million a year ago overtook. That doesn't happen. Within that same generation, it doesn't happen. So we all likely know who the winner of this generation is going to be. It's going to be PlayStation. Now there are some things like the ABK deal and whatever, and Xbox knows that. Shout out to Bulldozer Smith who just subscribed. Thank you very much, my good friend. Thank you for that. You'll have situations like this APK deal, which we're going to get into, where Xbox wants to change that dynamic. It's not, let us compete. You have more than enough to compete with. But the thing that they're trying to do is change that dynamic, and we'll see if that works. First, we got to see if the deal even goes through. And even if the deal goes through, we'll see if that changes that dynamic. We'll see. But again, it's all centered around AAA top-notch gaming that pushes that innovation forward. And you got to advocate. Somebody's got to advocate for it. I get that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, certain diseases and stuff like that. Nobody says, hey, why are you advocating for asthma, but you're not advocating for leukemia or something? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can advocate and say, oh, that's cool. You're running a drive for MS. Like a good friend of mine just text me. I'm glad I thought about that. She's going to do the MS walk that they have here. She's looking for donations for people to sponsor her. And I sponsor her every year. But let's just say, like, kidney disease is huge in my wife's family. I've done streams on kidney disease. I've done streams on behalf of the National Kidney Foundation. They're great people. I've talked to them. There's a local company around here called, what are they? Oh, shoot. Oh, man, I forgot the name of the company. They're a great company that does a lot of work with people suffering from kidney disease. It's a huge thing. And me and my wife's and my brother-in-law's, we started advocating for it and doing little different things and stuff like that. So because kidney disease is my cause, that doesn't mean that I denigrate my friend's MS. She suffers from MS. So she is doing an MS drive. She's not coming to me and saying, oh, why ain't you doing more regular MS drives too? No, she understands that's her cause. And I support her in that cause. And she supports me in mine. But everybody can't satisfy and do everything. There can't be this mumbo jumbo, no line drawn as far as what you stand for. That's what makes us unique too. That's true diversity. So I can support her cause, but her main cause is fighting against MS. My main cause in that same realm is fighting against kidney disease. It doesn't make my support of the fight for MS, I'm not denigrating that fight. She's not denigrating mine. I fight for AAA hardcore games. It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate indie titles, but this is my fight. I've been gaming for over 35 plus years. Gaming has been instrumental to me in my life, and I enjoy it a lot. And I enjoy the aspect that AAA hardcore gaming plays in that. And in gaming for over 35 plus years, seeing what's happening as of late is concerning to me. So I'm going to stand up for what I'm concerned about. Doesn't mean that I denigrate what you stand up for. But my cause cannot be your cause. Stand up on your own too, and fight and be a leader for your cause. Doesn't mean that I can't even support your cause. Hey, look, MM, I'm having an indie game drive. We're taking donations. Sure, here you go. I don't have to be a leader for your cause. I'm a leader for mine. One of the many ills of society today, but that's a whole nother podcast. All right, let's get into the chat and get into today's show as I promised. He said, but the pandemic, indies took off and blew up. They did. Sifu is still probably the best indie ever created. I haven't played that game. I got to get into that one. Among Us and Stardew Valley had gamers in a chokehold. That is true. My son is a big indie gamer. He makes indie games. Reverend Woods in the house. He says, what's up, Cold Blood? He said, Neethles is ducking all them bullets since Halo Infinite. Yeah. Yeah, it ain't looking good for my brother Neethles. Look, I get where Neethles is coming from, talent-wise. He's like the best out there. Like, he's real good, and he knows his gaming. One day, me and him, though, we let our passion and our hope and our aspirations for Xbox get the best of us. And I remember, you probably remember this, Cold Blood. I think this is around the time that you and what's the other dude's name? Y'all were gaming with Z and y'all on Call of Duty and stuff, and y'all was kicking Kid Smooth's ass. I remember that. I remember that. That's when you started coming around. But here's what I realized is that, yeah, as an Xbox gamer, you're fueled off of hopes and aspirations. And I know, look, you're going to hear me talk about Xbox a lot, where normally in this show, this is about PlayStation. But in the things that I'm telling PlayStation gamers that you got to look out for, Xbox is heavily embedded in. So we're going to go against the norm this show. Normally this show is set up to just purely focus on PlayStation. Whenever Xbox is involved, I normally say the company that will remain nameless. I'm not doing that today only because Xbox is central, unfortunately, in the things that PlayStation gamers have to look out for. But the thing that me and Neethles did, Cold Blood, is when Z came and said, look, man, Xbox is going to shit the bed this E3. I think it was, what was it, E3 2019, when they had the deer simulator or whatever, the deer walking simulator. And me and Neethles was like, no, Z, you wrong. You got it wrong, bro. Xbox is going to kill it. We was listening to the crazy rumors that were out there. I think Jazz had rumors, and shout out to Randolph Ford. Randolph had rumors, and other people had rumors and stuff. And we was like, nah, there's no way this company with this history, with this pedigree, with the games that they have in their lineup, the studios they have right now, they got Halo, they got Gears, and there's so many other things they could do. There's no way, and the partnerships they have Bethesda as a partner. There's no way that they gonna go out like this. They had to rebuild, and that's fine, but they're gonna kill it this E3. And what happened? Me and Neethles was doing shows. Z's crazy. You know, Z's that we were on here, our NRO podcast. Me and Neethles. Z's crazy. He's just a hater, man. What's going on? And then when the dust settled, Z was absolutely right. I didn't come on. Me and my ass, I dodged the bullet. I ain't come on the show for a week purposely. And I wrote Z a letter for him to read on air, something like that. And Z was like, "Nah, F that. You bring your punk ass on the show." And so I read the letter. It was all in fun though. We were having fun. It was all comical. But I learned my lesson then. That's what I learned. I said, this is just, I'm living off of fumes. This is just hopes and wishes when it comes to Microsoft. Hopes and wishes and aspirations. And now that we've been living off of hopes and wishes and aspirations, like you're not even hoping and wishing anymore. Microsoft has come through and told you, we don't know how to curate and mature games. Our cloud gaming sucks. They came out and said, these are not my words. Our cloud gaming sucks. We don't have the abilities to get into mobile, open our own store and mature like Google and Facebook, and Google and Apple. So we want to just take what's making their stores popular and keep it to ourselves. Our Windows stores suck. So because our Windows stores suck, we can't exclusively be Microsoft products. We have to put this on Steam. They've admitted this in interviews. This is not me making this stuff up. They've admitted that all these screens, but then on the flip side, oh yeah, we want to bring more gamers to more screens. But they've admitted to you that these screens that they want to bring gamers to by exclusively having you play it on their screens, that their screens are the worst. They've admitted it. These aren't my words. They've either said this in an interview, or they've told the CMA, which made this stuff public. This is at the core of the whole Activision Blizzard deal. We suck. So because we suck, give us one of the biggest publishers in the world. It's like if there was a swimming contest and me not knowing how to swim, instead of me training like everybody else does, going through the rigors of training, getting up 5 a.m., swimming, not coming home till 9 p.m. Instead of me doing that, I just want you to give me a lifeboat. Allow me to have a lifeboat. I get that it's unprecedented, but see, I can't swim. Give me a life preserver, a life jacket. I should be allowed to have this because I can't swim. And I'm not good at getting up early in the morning to train. I don't like training. So give me a life preserver so I can stay afloat and get an advantage. That's basically what it is. And then the argument is, even if you give us that life preserver, I'm such a horrible swimmer, I still might not make it first place. No! What is the precedent that you're sending if I got to change the game, change how things operate just so you can compete? You're one of the richest companies in the world. You can't hire talent than a company that has 1% of your overall, I know I'm using the wrong term, your gross domestic. They're not a country, but still, it just sounds funny to say. They can hire people and cultivate a culture. You can't? Give me a life jacket. I'll pay a lot of money for it. That's basically what they're saying. We suck. We don't want to go through the rigors of getting better. Give us a life jacket. Give us a life jacket and a life jacket only. While everybody else is going out there and training and doing the hard work to become better, they just want a life preserver. So this just isn't me. This isn't me attacking Microsoft. This is me attacking a mind state, because Xbox wasn't always like this. This is just attacking a mind state that's really going to hamper and destroy gaming. As someone who's looked and observed over what's made gaming work through the ups and downs for the past 35 years, I've even been around during the crash of gaming with the Atari 5200. You want to know what killed gaming then? Quality. There was so much shit out there with the Atari. They had so much shovelware. Gaming became less expensive, just like what's being proposed now, but it was trash. And people said, you know what? Maybe having a home console ain't the thing. So they stopped. And guess what they started doing? They started going to the arcades again. And then the arcades flourished for a few years until the Nintendo came out. And then the rest is history. So I've seen that already. History replicates itself. I've already seen it. Those of you that are wet behind the ears that just started gaming with Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1, and now you find yourself begging and pleading for Xbox to let them compete, throw them a life jacket, you don't get it. But we're going to help you today. So that's why I'm going to be mentioning Xbox a lot. Reverend Woods says, yo. Or Cobra says, yo, to Reverend Woods. Should call it Phil dosage. He says, I don't miss Stadia whatsoever. That's a shocker. I'm surprised by that. Let's see here. Let me see. I want to make sure I get everybody's comments, and then we're going to go right into the show because you guys are killing it today. And I wish it was easier for me on this program to just pull up your comments, but I got to click on them, put them. Oh, this is crazy. All right. So let's do this. Reverend Wood says, I miss it so much. I miss the community, the affordability. Honestly, was the most enjoyable time. Yeah, I will say in recent memory, I feel the same. Stadia, if Google would have done right, and I'm going to come out with a video or a show where in hindsight, if somebody else wants to do this, the things that they should do and the things that they shouldn't do. I'm going to talk about all that. Yeah, but yeah, it was great. It was the community was great. The prospects of it were great, and it just and look, the things that they were about to do, like bring your own games, like that would have solved their problems as far as games. Bring your own games, where they would have had a portion that operated like Shadow or Boosteroid, where if you already own the game on PC, you just become a Stadia Pro member, and then you can use Stadia Pro's technology to play your game in the cloud. That would have been dope and cool. Right. So they were working on that. They were expanding to not just Mexico, there were other territories. I'm not going to talk about that. I don't think I've been given the okay by my sources to talk about what other areas, but they were going to expand to other areas as well. There were just some other things they were going to do that were going to revolutionize and help increase cloud gaming in so many ways. And it's unfortunate that Google brass decided that they wanted to do this new cloud gaming for live support or whatever the hell it is. It's silly to me because you and Amazon could have went to the CMA and said, where's our deal? And that would have put a monkey wrench into what Xbox is trying to do, because really they're not trying. This is why they're doing 10-year deals. Really, long term, they are not thinking about PlayStation. They wanted to smother out Amazon and Google from the cloud gaming side, and now they want to be able to smother out Apple and Google on the mobile side. That's really their big prize here. And Google left, which really, invigorated them, because Microsoft was known for saying behind closed doors and out in the public, in so many words, we want to buy up everything so Google and Amazon can say, why even bother? And it kind of worked with Google, because that led to part of the reason why Google decided to close down SG&E, because of the purchase of Bethesda. And the CMA is looking at that and they're like, that's anti-competitive. And I always knew it would be anti-competitive. It says good retro games are timeless. Indie devs are trying to capture that. AAA devs are focused on the graphics more than the stories. I think AAA development just isn't graphics. AAA development, these guys are going out here getting top grade actors. Like I did an interview with a developer, a AAA developer one time, and this would have been real big for me. And then at the last moment, the developer said no. This was well before I even hit YouTube. I had an interview lined up because I had befriended this developer online by me being a jackass on like gaming forums. And this developer was using a sock account on these forums. I'm up one night talking, and then the developer said, you know what? I feel because me and this guy we're talking like back and forth for like months. And he said, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I said, I feel that you're mature enough to handle this. This is who I really am. And I said, oh, cool. I said, oh, shit. You for real? And he showed me evidence of who he was. And I said, oh, this is a shit. And I said, well, look, man, I mean, over the course, I didn't just hit him with that then, but over the course of talking to him, I said, hey, look, man, I'm running this real dog shit publication. I would love to do an interview with you and get you to break down what's all in game development, because it's such a mystery. You know what I'm saying? And he said, sure. We went through the rigors, talked about everything, and it blew my mind. I really understood what was going on with, man, they sit there like in pre-production, they sit there, they're making deals to get like top-notch voice actors, script writers. Like a lot of this blows Hollywood out of the water. This is why adaptations or TV adaptations of shows like what do you call it? The Last of Us. That's why they're doing so big. They're basically ripping the content out of the game. Like they're rivaling and outperforming Hollywood with a lot of this stuff. So AAA development just isn't for graphics and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. When you're an indie developer, your focus on innovation is a lot easier to perform because you don't have a lot of mechanics within your game that you got to operate with, but it's more of a paramount to you. Crobat is now following. Thank you so much, Crobat. I really appreciate you. You are the best. Thank you for your support. But yeah, when you're an indie developer, you know, some of those little innovative things in your platforming or whatever, yeah, you gotta focus more on that because you are lacking in the graphics because you don't have the manpower to put out the AAA graphics. That being said, though, no, don't be mistaken. AAA isn't just, I mean, in some areas that's true, but in the average AAA development, they just may fall flat. But in an average AAA development, they're shelling out a lot of money, dude. They're shelling out a lot of money to get top-notch actors, story writing. It's sick. It's crazy. Since I look forward to gaming when I was on stage, yeah, a lot of people were, looking forward to that. All right, maybe one. What are they talking about? He says, what part? You got a few games that have good stories, but that's one out of about every 10. Yeah, they may fall flat, Sean, but the focus is there. The focus is definitely there. Just like Hollywood movies. You'll have big budget Hollywood dramas that people feel like, oh, you know, they put all this money into them and the story falls flat. But that's not the attempt. The attempt is weak. It's just their ability to deliver. It didn't come all together. All right, with that said, let's get into today's show. Y'all killing it in the comments as well. Let's get into the show nonetheless. We want to welcome everybody. Let me move my mic. I want to welcome everybody to PlayStation Prep Rally. This particular podcast dives deep into the world of PlayStation gaming and shares the thoughts and opinions and insights of fellow PlayStation gamers. This episode is for gamers who know that the true joy of gaming lies in the artistry and the creativity of the games that we play. If you don't follow my content, I am your host, MM2K. Today, we're tackling some big topics. Those topics include the proposed Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition, the rise of game subscription models, and the artistic integrity in games, and why they should always take precedence over technical enhancements. But first, let's start with the Activision Blizzard and whole Xbox, I'll call it debacle. If you're a PlayStation gamer, this is a debacle. Because I'm simply just here, not and beyond just me talking about it in the details and deep diving, and I'm just simply tired of hearing about it. I want to talk about games. I want to talk about gaming trends. And because one side, really their lifeline is this deal, this is all we're talking about daily. And I'm quite sick of it. But just the whole revelations of the deal are not a good prospect for PlayStation gamers. First, let's talk about the news that's been shaking up the gaming world, the proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Xbox. This recent news of this deal has caused quite a stir in the gaming industry. And now, while some argue that this deal could lead to better games and more opportunities for gamers, others, like myself, are concerned about the potential negative impact on the industry. Here are my thoughts. Look, we all know that corporate mergers are never great news for consumers. And shout out to the homie Forge Gaming for highlighting this in his shows. Cold Blood, I'm telling you, brother, you really need to check this dude out. With that being said, for those that are advocating for a company to be thrown a lifeboat instead of them doing the hard work to compete and just getting better at it, I think you don't realize you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. However, this time is especially troubling because it means that a huge swath of the gaming industry will be controlled by just one company if this trend continues. I think this acquisition is bad news for gamers because it limits competition in the market. When one company controls or is on the pathway where they're allowed to control such a huge portion of the gaming industry, it's harder for other developers to break in and make a name for themselves. It also puts too much power in the hands of single corporations, of just a handful or a few corporations, which could lead to a lack of innovation and creativity. Continued allowance of this type of widespread buyout, quote unquote, is what will lead to this dynamic undoubtedly. And not just any company we talking about here. We're talking about Microsoft. And if you don't, and if you're like, oh, M2K, you just bloviate, you're going over the top. This can be asserted via comments made by Xbox's head, Phil Spencer himself. Via these comments made by Phil Spencer, once Bethesda was acquired, has been pushing for more exclusive access via buyouts and more control over the gaming market for the past few years now. This proposed acquisition just puts them one step closer to that goal. There's also the arguments that the deal could lead to better games and more resources for developers. But would it truly? The real issue here is how it's going to affect the games themselves. We've already seen what happens when studios are put under too much pressure to churn out profit-driven content instead of artistic masterpieces. And with this acquisition, that pressure is only going to increase. Now let's talk about Game Pass. When the bottom line becomes more important than the artistry of the game, gamers lose out. But that's not the only threat to the future of gaming. Subscription models like Game Pass are also changing the landscape of gaming as we know it. Now, while these services offer a lot of benefits to gamers, there's a concern that they could lead to a lack of creativity and risk-taking by developers. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the idea of being able to access a ton of different games for one low monthly price. But if that becomes a standard everywhere, the standard way that you interact with games, we embrace that at what cost? When developers are focused on creating games that fit into a subscription model because that provides a monetary reward up front, regardless of the overall quality of the product, They may be less likely to take risks and try something new. They might be more concerned with making a game that fits neatly into the service rather than pushing the boundaries of what's possible. This could lead to lack of diversity in games and less creativity overall. Now, while subscription services are great for gamers, we don't want to see the industry becoming stagnant in this regard. We need to support developers who take risks and try new things, even if they don't fit neatly into a subscription model. One of my biggest grunts in this area is Forspoken. I'll use two. I used them earlier this week. Forspoken and Octopath Traveler 2. Forspoken. Oh, that's a $70 game. Oh, Metacritic said it's 60. I'll get it when it's in a subscription model. I'll try it when it's in a subscription model. When you're not willing to try new things, you know what I'm saying? If you were interested in something, but because the machine told you that, hey, we in an aggregate way say it's this number, we give it this aggregate number, and therefore it's not worth you supporting financially unless it's in a subscription service, then you kill the incentive for innovation. Hell, look at Octopath Traveler 2. Now, that's a game that has gotten acclaim, but it's not getting the support that it needs. Because people are looking at it and they're like, oh, it's a side-scrolling RPG, turn-based RPG. Put that in a subscription model. And I think they hurt themselves by putting themselves in Game Pass. Because a lot of people played it in Game Pass, liked it, but they're not ready to buy it a la carte. You see what happens when you set that trend? Oh, I got to pay $70 for that game this time, or $60. Oh, no. See what I'm talking about? And let's not forget that subscription models can lead to the homogenization of gaming experiences. If every game is designed to be played for a few hours, then discard it for the next one, we're not giving developers the space to take risks and create truly unique experiences. Think about it. If every game is made, I made this argument yesterday. If every game is made to say, oh, well, or no. Better yet, let's explain like this. Two companies. Let's just say there's Cold Blood Inc. and then there's MM2K Inc. Hold on one second. So let's say if we got two companies, we got Cold Blood Inc. and we have MM2K Inc. And both companies make games. Cold Blood Inc. makes AAA games that they sell a la carte. I make games that I've struck a deal with Game Pass, and I start realizing that for me, Game Pass is a sweet spot. And Microsoft came to me and said, "Yo, MM, your games add a lot of value to Game Pass. So here's what we're looking to offer for all your AAA games is that, these are our base offerings. You know what I'm saying? And as long as, they rate 80 or above, we're good. So I say, oh, okay, cool. And that's my contingent with Microsoft is that, they rate 80 and above, and we'll continue to be able to put these games in Game Pass, and I'll get a bag for Microsoft, right? Microsoft said that they do many deals, so I'm pretty sure that Microsoft understands that the likelihood of them getting a game that's going to score 90 and above, that's a AAA game that, and the developers know it, ain't coming to Game Pass day and date. But you're going to get a lot of these 75, maybe 85 games, maybe 85 games in Game Pass. So I go to Phil and I say, okay, when I sign the deal. So what happens as a result? Instead of my team feeling that pressure of building towards, something, because I know we have a team that can fight and try to build the best game that we've ever built and fight for that 90 game. And I hate using Metacritic as a litmus for this, but I'm only using it to help extenuate my point that to extend the quality. I know this is a game that'll be so badass that even on Metacritic, it's going to get like a 95, 96. I know we have that talent to do that. It may take us a few games to do it. We may, not take the first risk and maybe not nail it so much. Stick the landing better the next time around, and then by the third time we do it, we may hit gold. It may take us a few tries, but I know we have the talent to do it. But then I sign this deal with Phil, and then I never worry about that because I ain't got to worry about taking risks. I definitely know that if I know that my team has the ability to create that 95 meta game, we definitely can send out a slew of 71, 75 to 85 games. Hell, I can then even now break my team up into 3 and have them focus on these 75 to 85 meta games. You know what I'm saying? And so then if the risk reward part is taken out of the equation, and the overwhelming majority of creators are simply making games that fit into a subscription model, that make a subscription model look nice because there's a bunch of, pretty decent games in there. What does that do for gaming? Like if everybody wants to open a Golden Corral, what happens to the Ruth Chris Steakhouses? What happens to the purest of quality? Where is the thing that's pushing the genre defining experiences into the next plateau? You lose out on it. You lose out on it. Developers can want it, and people say, well, no, developers always want to make the best games. Yeah, surely they do, but they don't make games by themselves. There's the developer-publisher dynamic. And if Microsoft is greasing your palms to not just come over and make it, look, we tried it. We tried making Gears 90 again. It just didn't work out, man. But being the fact that it's in a subscription service, look, we're like easy peasy. Look at all these people raving about Game Pass. Man, push the envelope my ass, man. Come on over here and make this 75 Metacritic game, man. Put it in Game Pass. Here goes a bag. That's not a future that I look forward to. Not at all. Not at all. So before we go to my last part, I want to hold on one second. I want to get the rest of these comments out here. All right. Make sure I get them all. All right. He says, too sterile for me. I don't know what that means. He says, what? That's what she said. Uh-oh. What they talking about? Says, you need it in TikTok form. Laugh out loud. I don't know what they talking about. He says, I did and got bored. Couldn't watch him longer than 20 minutes. Who are they talking about? Who y'all talking about? Let me see. I'm so tired of this on my timeline. Oh, hold on. Jonathan says, I'm so tired of this on the my timeline, but everybody is talking about it, so you can't escape it, really. Yeah. Oh, exactly. I'm sick of seeing it, man. I'm sick of seeing it. It's like we can't talk about. There's other things happening in gaming. We can't even. And see, this is what happens. So you see how Microsoft diverting from the norms is already impacting the gaming landscape in a negative way. Do you see how it's happening? Like, they've completely went from focusing on games and what games we're going to bring and showcasing you the games and getting you excited about the AAA stellar. They've completely backed away from that. And now it's all about court cases and what's coming in the Game Pass instead of what next innovative thing is going to blow gaming wide open. And they've been successful at it. Like, Sony's not totally doing what Xbox is doing, but they've been influenced. They're looking at them in 2018 when Sony had its breakout year. They were like, we only did 5 billion more than how did Xbox do 16 billion with the crap they put out? And we only did like 20 billion. I think it was. They're like, they're that close to us, and they had a crap year. So Sony looked at it and said, maybe some of the things that we need to do is some of the things that they're doing. And so then Sony also said, well, look, if Microsoft can have crap E3s, not really show anything rewarding, still come up and make 16 billion, and we come out here and we run the risk of being laughed at our E3s as well, what's the point? We're not going to E3. Now that's Sony's decision, but it was persuaded because of the status of affairs now, because quality, it used to be quality only equated to money, and it ain't about that no more. So now nobody's going to E3. And now instead of putting these games to task and looking at what's being developed, we're talking about court cases. We have gamers out here that want to be paralegals. They're not showing you game footage. They're not talking about new games. They're not showing you new games that they've bought or purchased or beat or whatever. They're talking to you about legalese. What the flying fig Newton? This is PlayStation gamers. This is what you got to look out for. Shout out to Jay Barry, Persona, Sick Humor, all of them. They were on a podcast last Sunday and they were talking about this exact same thing. And they were like, people aren't buying games, they ain't supporting games. Okay, yeah, you want to laugh at Forspoken? Fine, go ahead, do it. But look, Octopath Traveler isn't getting any support either. There's that one bandwagon game that people jump on, like, and we feel like, and they brought up a great point, like they're wondering, did people just buy Hogwarts Legacy because they wanted to thumb their nose at the people that were telling them not to buy it? Do they want to just be part of that contrarian crowd? It's a good question. So it's become bandwagon affairs. Okay, everybody bought Elden Ring. I remember my sister called me up, and she's a bandwagon rider. My sister called me up and said, what do you think about that Elden Ring? So, I mean, duh. It's not my type of game, but a lot of people are buying it. Because I was thinking about buying it too. What? Oh, get the hell out of here. My sister's a bandwagon affair. But that's what it is. People that don't even, she's not even a gamer. So people that aren't even gamers. But how it's seeping into the, now they want to, now it's a bandwagon affair. Okay, now I'm going to buy Hogwarts Legacy. Ooh, I bought it, and it just sits there. They're not playing it. It's crazy. Crowbar says, after we heard its budget was 100 million, I don't think they would go any lower than 60. Yeah. And look, I did the math. Even though I did 70, even though Square Enix or PlayStation, whatever, they're not going to get the full $70. They might, let's do 50. I did 100 million into 50. Let's do 100 because 10 of that goes to it depends. But I would say 20 of that is processing and shipping fees. So maybe out of that they'll see 50, maybe 45, but let's just do 50. Let's divide 100 million divided by 50. So they would need 2 million copies sold in order for them to get out of the red. That's not a flop. I think they maybe got 1 million. And eventually it'll get to 2 million. It may have reached 2 million. Just because something didn't, but they didn't create this game for it to just make their money back. They created the game because they wanted it to do well. So they were hoping that they could see maybe 10 million out of the game, at least, if not more. Right? 10 million copies sold. So in order for, I imagine for Square and Sony to get their money back on their investment, the game would have to sell about 2 million copies. I think the game is probably halfway there, maybe slightly more. When we talk about Forspoken, to me, that's not a flop. A flop is 50,000. You're not going to make your money back on this game at all. That's a flop. If you set a goal, that hey, we want to sell 8 million copies, and the best you're going to do is get your money back. That's a failure in many regards, even though that's a strong word. It's a failure. It's not a flop. Flop, you don't even make your money back on a flop. And I think this game is going to reach 2 million gamers. What's up, Kitty? This game is going to reach 2 million gamers. And I feel that if 2 million gamers get to play this game, that's great. That is great. So, all right. What else did they say? They said, I can't think of that one Xbox guy, but you would swear he was getting a PhD on the CMA deal. They talk about posts. That's a very interesting point. I'm glad you brought that up because there was something, and I pull my brother's post chain all the time about the same thing. And I love Post Up. We don't see eye to eye on much, but I really appreciate I appreciate the effort. You know what I mean? So here's my thing. Hold on, give me 1 second here. Let me see something. Oh, give me 1 second. I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry for these interruptions. Hold on. What's up, Kitty? Kitty, you can't get your attention today. So there is a comment from my brother Post Up. Hold on 1 second. We'll put it up here. It's very interesting that you brought that up, Sean, because I don't think people get it. Let me see if I can find it. Give me a second. Okay, here it goes. So this one is very interesting indeed. And I appreciate my brother Post Up for fighting for what he believes in, but there's enough holes that the Titanic can swim through. All right, so this is what he asks on Twitter. He says it's funny when Microsoft announced the acquisition of ZeniMax back in 2020, Sony said nothing, didn't have any issues with the deal, nor did they try to oppose it. Now that Sony, who didn't oppose the ZeniMax merger, is trying to use the deal to block the Activision merger. If Sony really cared about this much about Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, why did it wait 4 years to be vocal about it? And this ridiculous take, all due respect, got 315 likes. It just shows you the zealotry out there. First and foremost, Activision Blizzard's relationship and correlation to PlayStation's bottom line, apparently, and common sense could tell you, is way more effective to Sony than Bethesda is. In a lot of ways, Bethesda and Xbox make sense. But here's the problem. Not only, now again, I don't completely buy everything that PlayStation has complained about as it relates to Call of Duty. I think it will affect their bottom line negatively. And, as far as third party revenue is concerned, I don't think it's that dire. I think what they're doing, though, is I think the problem that they're having with this deal is that they don't want this deal to go through because it sets a new precedent. It sets a new precedent where, again, Microsoft can go and buy up prominently pre-established content, buy it up in mass, and just say, gimme, and make it exclusive. And that could be content that is very vital to PlayStation's third party. Because here's how it works. This is how the console world works. You spend money, you lose money to actually get saturation, to get your boxes in the homes. But you lose money in the cost of the box and your exclusives. Like Yoshida even said years ago. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that quote. He said it years ago that, let me see if I can find that. Gaming research, Sony revenue. Yeah. Oh crap, I didn't want that to happen. Let's do this. And then we'll go back. Yoshida even said it years ago. He says only 4 out of 10 PlayStation games make money, but Sony will always support talent. And this was all the way back from 2014. He said, when you look at what we do, managing studios, managing funds, that's essentially what we do to look for talent, blah, 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 blah. He said it's a hit-driven business. We look at our financial results of titles and probably 3 or 4 out of 10 make money. And maybe 1 or 2 make all the money to cover the cost of the other titles. So we have been able to maintain a hit ratio at a certain level to be able to continue in this business. So we always try to find out and support and help grow the talent. That speaks exactly to what I was saying before as far as the artistry and the sense of urgency of this model. This keeps development honest to consumers. This is the best consumer-friendly way to get quality games. Hold on 1 second. Cat, you better not be. Sorry about that, mic hit. That is the most quality way to get AAA games, or the best consumer-friendly way to get quality games. Why? Because it creates that sense of urgency. We got to put out great stuff. We got to put out genre-defining stuff because we got to sell this box. And they realize that we're going to take risks doing this. And they even take risks to the fact that they understand that they're going to have a 70% failure rate. 70% failure rate financially. 70% failure rate financially. They know they're going to have that, but they're still willing to take the risks because it's great enough to help move that box into your home. But even though it's a 70% failure risk to them financially, it's a 70% gamer get, because now we're getting these experiences where they're at least trying new stuff to push gaming forward. Forspoken's may have been a financial failure to Square because they were looking to sell 5 times as many at launch. It may not have been a flop, but it wasn't anything bad to us as gamers because we got a quality game out of it that was trying to do something different. This is the best way, consumer-friendly way for us to get quality content. When you take out that sense of urgency and developers and publishers can just get away with putting mediocre stuff, but a bunch of decent mediocre stuff in a subscription model, what do you think everybody's going to start moving towards, gravitating towards? The norm. And the reason why Sony is opposing this deal is because they can hang in this model. They've done the hard work. It's like the swimming scenario that I gave you before, where Microsoft doesn't want to train. Sony and Nintendo, they get up 5 in the morning. They go with the trainer. They eat the good meal. Microsoft wants to have a Budweiser and a Bratwurst 5 o'clock. No, they don't even get up that early. They want to have a Budweiser and a Bratwurst 11 a.m. pick their navels between 12 and 2 p.m. and do what and then watch reruns of The Simpsons until it's time to go to bed, rinse and repeat. They don't want to train. They don't want to get better at this. It's better for them to use this money that they were going to use to create risks. They feel like it's a better risk reward to take that money and just buy out these big companies and smother the competition out. It's commonly known now that Xbox's answer to Amazon and Google getting into the gaming space, or the AAA gaming space via the cloud, that their answer to them was, let's buy up everything, so they realize, what's the point? That's anti-consumer. That's why FTC isn't buying it. That's why CMA isn't buying it. EU may be cracking, but thank goodness it just doesn't rest on their shoulders. Sony told you themselves the winning formula for them, even though it has a 70% failure rate. Why? Because even though it has a 70% failure rate for them, they still get great quality out there. They still get great opportunities out there for you, the gamer. That's where you win. But that 30% success rate will help push their boxes in your home. And once them boxes are in your home, then they really make the gallops of money through Call of Duty, Fortnite, whatever the popular multi-plat titles that are out there. But if you're taking the dynamic from them and you're saying, okay, you can have a 70% failure rate, and we're going to take away from you the thing that's going to take you over the top, which are the multi-plats. We're going to buy them up. Then that's smothering your competition out. That's why Sony is in this. And that's why Sony is making it seem like that Call of Duty was the greatest game ever made, and babies and children across villages from here to the Himalayas are going to starve if Call of Duty becomes exclusive. They're not worried about Call of Duty. They're worried about how this affects the ecosystem of the process that is normal in gaming, and they've taken the time to train and master. If you could just throw a life preserver in the pool, but it's going to cost you money in order to get it, and I don't have that money, you are essentially pushing me out of the market. That's why Sony is concerned. And that's why they use Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is their staunchest example of that. Thank you, Crobat, for following. Appreciate you. That's why they're concerned. It makes all the sense in the world. But back to my brother Post-Ups. Silly comment. If Sony really cared this much about Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, why wait? No, they didn't care. They knew you were doing something funny with that, but they didn't care. But now that you're going to make this a serious trend, now that they see what you're trying to do long term, you weren't just buying Bethesda to build up your catalog and help get some expertise under the hood to help you better at the games that you deliver and what you have to offer. That's not it. What you're trying to do is smother them out of the market. Again, PlayStation's success, or many gamers' success in this console battle, is, look, we will put out exclusive content. Maybe only 30% of it will be successful financially, but our futures will hang on that 30% because it's going to help push our box or push our ecosystem into your homes. Once we do the heavy lifting and get people to run out and get our ecosystem in their homes, now we get to reap the rewards. What do we reap the rewards with? Call of Duty, Fortnite, Roblox, all that stuff. If what you're trying to do now is suck up the rewards that we would reap from this business model that's been in place and has been working not only for companies, but for gamers for years, then we're going to stop you. Because if you convert it to a business model that only works for you, how does that help? That not only deters it for us, but now this is where the gamers come in, and the gamers should be concerned. If it's a business model that only works for Microsoft, how does it work for us? How do we get this type of quality anymore? How do you get a company that always support talent? And we mean the top-notch talent, coming up with the top-notch innovative ideas. Let me tell you something for those of you that are too young to know this. Two of the biggest genre-defining games of the last few generations have been BioShock and Fallout. We've seen so many BioShock clones and Fallout clones since those games came out, and Mass Effect clones. Those games are ridiculous. It's ridiculous out here. Who do you think helped curate those games? Execs that had the same mind state as Yoshida. We want the next genre-defining thing out here. That's how Mass Effect, they worked with great developers. Thank you, Vet Gaming, for your cheer. I appreciate it, good brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. How do you think this came out here? Those games came out there because they said, we want genre-defining games. And they worked with those companies to create those games. And the rest is history. You don't have those type of collaborative conversations if the conversation is simply, let me see your game. Oh yeah, that'll be a nice addition to Game Pass. Cool. Here goes a bag. Put it in Game Pass day and date. Microsoft has said they are out of the console exclusive game. When it comes to second party relationships, they don't want to do it anymore. In other words, let's spend all this money now to squeeze out the competition. Let's send Phil out there with his tight limbo shirts and his little nerdy, aesthetic. And let's call Jim Ryan pathetic and get all these dumbasses to follow in the rhetoric. I have to look. There's no other way to say it but to say it. These dumbasses. Can I show you guys something else too? I'm going to show you guys something else. This is becoming unbearable now as a gamer. This ain't got nothing to do with Xbox or PlayStation. Damn it, I play most of my games on NVIDIA GeForce Now. I'm a PlayStation gamer. I cherish what PlayStation's doing as far as pushing innovation, but that's not my dog in the race. I play most of my games on NVIDIA GeForce Now, all right? For those of you that didn't know. Shout out to Prince Tybolt, frontline gamer. Love this guy. He gets it. He's been going back and forth with different people on the internet over what are atypical business practices, trying to get people to stop this stupid rhetoric of Jim Ryan looks pathetic. Just to stop it. It's stupid. He's trying his best, but it's like he's talking to a wall. So against such criticism, he says, that's literally their job when responding to someone who uses that pathetic tag again for Jim Ryan, to throw as much crap at the wall and see if any of it sticks. It's on regulators to then scrutinize the arguments. It's not on Sony. For that matter, MS to be, or MS either to be totally above the board. It's on regulators to sift through the shit. And he adds, it's not straining. I've had lawyers tell me they throw out as much shit as they could and see what bites they get. He was surprised that he hadn't been more creative. And people still don't seem to get it. But I gave them a scenario out here. And if you like my scenario, I'll put a copy to it in the chat. But I put a scenario out here that hopefully you all can appreciate. And if you like it, go out there, if you like my scenario, go out there and like it, please. I said, imagine, this is a conversation between the investors and Jim Ryan. I said, imagine, investors, we noticed a 20% dip in third-party sales. Jim Ryan, oh yeah, it was because of that Microsoft ABK deal. The investors, well, Jim, did we try any heavy pushback on this? It's killing profit margins. Jim, oh no, they said I might look desperate on Twitter, and I didn't want that smoke. Hashtag not how it works. Our business acumen when it comes to this stuff is so porous, but gaming is becoming more and more profitable. It's more profitable than movies and music, I believe, right now, right? That we have to understand this stuff. This ain't 83 anymore. This ain't like Contra selling 100,000 copies. You know what I'm saying? And then things are different. We have to understand this portion and put down our flags for a particular piece of plastic that is not sending us a paycheck. And understand how this is going to affect us in entirety as gamers. I don't want Microsoft. I don't want PlayStation. I don't want anybody changing the dynamic of how we get quality, AAA, genre-defining content unless they come up with something better. What Microsoft is proposing is not better. Again, me and Cold Blood, we both got studios. I know my gaming studio is capable of pushing out 90 plus Metacritic games, but we're going to stumble and we're going to have some risks. But I want to be totally risk averse, take the bag. I work with Microsoft to make mediocre 75 to 80 meta content to put into Game Pass. Cold Blood on the other end says, you know what? I'm taking that risk, man. Screw that. I'm taking that risk. I am making those 90 Metacritic games, right? And let's just say he has one game that flops, a second game that does okay, and then the third game really blows over, right? But let's look at my 3 games, and let's just say that financially, because I'm getting that additional support from Game Pass, that I outperform him financially with my 3 games, even though my 3 games are like 75 Metacritic, maybe 77, and then the third one is 81. Let's just say his 3 games are, 80 Meta, 85, and then the last one is 95, right? Let's just say I ended up with more money. Who do you think that the publishers that I need, or that we both need to help fund our next expenditure, who are they going to? Let me help you out. They're not going to Cold Blood. The publishers are not in it for the art. We as gamers should be in it for the art. You don't own stock in Microsoft. Stop kissing their ass. We have a viable system right now that where the companies are willing to have a 70% failure rate just to get us excited about their content. They're willing to take that risk. We went out with this. We don't went out with this. Even when in my biggest love fest for Stadia days, when I saw this dynamic, I made it very clear. I don't like this. I was like, yeah, Stadia might have to buy Ubisoft just to keep up, but I don't like that proposal. I'm not sitting there waving a flag of success because a company that I happen to like the most is doing something nefarious or something they're going to ruin all of gaming. You guys aren't old enough. You're too wet behind the ears. I've been around. I saw this shit happen 30 years ago when the 5200 got saturated with dog shit games. Yes, it was inexpensive. Yes, it was easy to get access to games, but they were dog shit. Nobody wanted them. So guess what? They abandoned consoles altogether and went back to the arcades. I don't want that for gaming, nor and even as a fan of PlayStation content, I don't want PlayStation the only ones willing to take the risk to put out premier content. Because they can't burden the shoulders of genre defining all on their own. You don't want that. Unbelievable. Let me get to this chat and then I'm going to get to the last segment of this podcast. Hold on one second too. My mic arm that's why I keep pausing. My mic arm is going bad. So my mic went bad. Hold on one second, y'all. And then my mic arm is going bad. Give me one moment. Let me tighten this up a little bit. All right, let's get to this chat because you guys are killing it. Let's see here. I see Dr. Spaceman in the house. Oh, y'all got so many comments. I can't read all of these, man. You guys are killing it today, man. Dr. Spaceman says, I think this is the hip hop quotable of the day. You miss every shot you don't take. I'm saddened, man. Now going through all this, normally I'm excited and I'm my feathers are ruffled and I'm sad. I'm listening. I'm just thinking back to the things that we discussed in this podcast. I told you guys it was going to be brow raising and controversial. But I look back at everything that I've ran through in this. Now I'm sad, man. Wow, man. It's crazy. You miss every shot you don't take. No true words have been spoken. Shout out to Vet in the house. Thank you, Vet, for your support, brother. I saw that you dropped some bits for your brother. Dr. Spaceman, if you can again, let me just give you guys just some, if you're not familiar with Dr. Spaceman's content. Him and Vet Gaming, JD, and who else am I missing? Dr. Spaceman. These guys do some great PlayStation content on Mondays. It's past my bedtime, or I'd be out there yelling and screaming and spitting over my pop filter with them then too, because this we got to raise the alarm flags on this. But yeah, drop a link to your channel here so people know where to go. He also says, hold on. Dr. Spaceman says, wow. He says, while Microsoft was laying off thousands of employees, Sony Interactive was announcing new jobs, including some opened specifically by affected. Yeah. And one of the big things that people talk about too is they go, oh, what about Microsoft? I mean, Sony buying Bungie. Well, Sony had a direct causal effect to actually spread and open up their portfolio for this. They wanted their games as a service or whatever, online games to get better. And who better to absorb and to help with that than Sony? I mean, damn it. What's their names? Bungie. This is to actually make gaming better. Because you take the prowess of PlayStation games and the story writing and the graphic quality, and you add a serious multiplayer component to it, it's only going to get better. This was actually to enhance their outreach and make things, well, they're doing it for business purposes. I don't want to make it seem like Sony's humanitarians, except Sony actually paid an extra $1 billion for Bungie to assure that after the acquisition, people wouldn't be certain employees there wouldn't be adversely affected. So maybe we can make them sound humanitarian. You know what I'm saying? Where after not even a year after Microsoft bought Bethesda, they had to let people from Bethesda go. But Phil Spencer's winning awards every 5 minutes. For what? I mean, the current state of gaming is just horrible. They put the game, they put the link out here. Definitely go check it out. Dr. Spaceman is Twitch. He's also here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dr. Spaceman Games. Go check it out. And yeah, man, it's a sad state of affairs, man. It's really sad. But I want to thank you for y'all support. Thank you, Vet, for dropping those bits. I appreciate it. Let me see what else we got going on in the chat. I'm just disappointed, man. While we're talking about bits and stuff like that, you guys may see some bars here. Let me just go here so you guys understand what's going on. You may see some bars. Oh no, you don't see them here. I'm sorry, they're not here. If you see me playing a game, you'll see these bars, these goals. What we do is for every I think the goal is if I can get to 10 Twitch subscribers, we're going to do a $100 giveaway. If I get 25 followers, we'll do a $50 giveaway. You'll see when I do my stream next. I'll have it up then, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. Thank you guys for your support. All right. So yeah, back to this foolery that's on our screen from my brother Post Up. Sony is trying to battle the change and how these games are pursued. Like what Microsoft is doing is they're basically saying we're no good at cultivating and doing that hard work to bring up new studios. Again, the cross scenario. Dr. Spaceman, Vet, Cold Blood, Sean, they're great at doing the back stroke and all that other stuff. I don't want to do that. They get up and train. I don't get up till 12 p.m. and I'm eating Cheetos and I'm picking my navel. I'm picking the fuzz out my navel. I don't want to train. And I'm watching Married with Children until I fall asleep, rinse and repeat. I don't want to get up. These guys are doing the hard work in the pool. National Swimming Association or Foreign International Swimming Association. If I pay inflators or us $100,000, allow them to put me a raft in the pool. Because either way, I can't compete. Either way, I can't compete. It's the same scenario. And what we're hoping is that the regulatory bodies that can make this change can say, no, you need to just get your ass up and prepare like the rest of them. We're not totally changing this business line to suit you. You've had opportunities to hire the right people. You have more studios than these guys right now. You have Bethesda that sold a cajillion games. You have Halo, one of the most popular franchises of all time. As a matter of fact, when Halo was popular, Sony had no grasp in the Western developed world. They were relying on Japanese development. And when the Xbox 360 started flying off the shelves and they took off, those Japanese developers was like, well, hold on. We're not the B's G's as we used to. Western development is flying, and we didn't expect this. We're going to go make mobile games. Sean Layton talks about this in an interview, I want to say about 2 years before his departure. And he explains that when he took over, the job first was to boost up the indie games, because that's the closest they could get to Western development, boosting up indie games and making sure that their box performed the best when it came to the AAA games, Western indie games, Western developed games. That's why they approached Bethesda when Bethesda used to openly tell you that they hated PlayStation. That's why they approached Steam when Gabe Newell told you openly that he hated PlayStation. They turned the leaf and went to these Western influence developers, storefronts, and companies, or whatever the case may be, and broke bread with them. And then came out to PlayStation 4. And their Western developed attempts were not ready yet, so then they propped up indie games. And they made sure that their Western developed AAA games looked the best. And that's what they flaunted until the Western developed games were ready. And then comes Uncharted, and then comes Horizon, and then comes God of War, and then comes this, and then comes that. And then under their noses, Sony swiped the crown for Western development when that was Xbox's core function. They did it using hard work. They got up 5 a.m., jumped in the pool, didn't go home till 9 p.m. They didn't whine and cry and beg to let us compete. They said, oh, you MFers think you got us? I got you one better. And they went out there, started training like Rocky, chopping down wood, running in the snow, barefoot, no shirt, and took the essence of what made Xbox great from up under their noses, just pulled the rug from under their feet. And your response, instead of saying, give me that back, that's mine. That's my crown. And puffing your chest out, I'm the biggest, baddest Western developer out here. CMA, let us compete. That's your answer. So to continue on with Sean Layton's interview, Sean Layton in the interview said, okay, once we took that from Microsoft, we went back to the Japanese developers and said, we back in charge now, and ain't no better suitor for you than us. Start bringing your games back. So then you got Neo, and then you got the Platinum Games, and then you got this, and then you got that, and then you got the partnership with Square Enix, where they invested more in them. When Microsoft wasn't doing that. They fought their way back. Microsoft doesn't want to fight. They just want to squeeze out. Hold on one second. I'm remiss. I'm remiss to think back. I had to search the name because you guys know how things be leaving me. I'm remiss to think back to the 80s. I believe this was where you guys again may not be old enough to remember this. It was two skaters, one by the name of Nancy Kerrigan, the other one Tonya Harding. And they were both going to be in the Olympics or something like that. And they were both, going to the qualifying round. And Nancy Kerrigan just was a harder worker. She was just a better skater than Tonya Harding. Tonya Harding wanted it so bad. What did Tonya Harding do? Did she go and she train harder? No, she went and paid somebody to go smack Nancy Kerrigan across the knees with a pipe, and broke and shattered her kneecap. That's why Sony is bringing up Starfield, because with Starfield, what you did was you did something nefarious. You lied. You went out there and you had your CFO for Xbox come out there and say, no, it's not about exclusive content. What we want to do is we want to make games maybe first and better on Xbox, but we don't want to make exclusive content. Then you end up making exclusive content. So all Sony is doing is say, look, you want to play this facade or this crappy game, and you want to uproot the business model to just to play servitude to you? All right, well, let's do it. How about when you lied about Bethesda? Stop it. Stop holding these flags for these companies. You're not getting a paycheck. Y'all don't own any stock in Microsoft. Y'all need to stop it. Pathetic. All right, Dr. Spaceman, appreciate you for coming through, brother. Thank you very much. All right. And shout out to Vet for the 500 bits, man. I thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. He said, not only dumbasses, MM, but they're delusional. Yeah, it's sickening. It's absolutely sickening what I'm seeing happening here in the gaming stratosphere, but it's happening nonetheless. All right, let's close this out, folks, because I do want to get to our latter stream and stuff. Finally, let's talk about the artistic importance in gaming and why that should be numero uno. All right. First, all right. I'm going to talk about it. While technical aspects like graphics are important, I believe here, and that's why we started this platform, I totally believe that the creativity and artistry behind games and AAA development are what make them truly special. Games are an art form, and like any art form, they should be celebrated for their creativity and innovation. We need to remember that games are not just products, but expressions of human experiences or expressions of human imagination. They could, they could connect you to the world that you're in, connect you to worlds beyond. And because of that magic that games can create, we need to support developers who push the boundaries of what's possible and create games that challenge us and inspire us. Simply put, Technical advancements are great, but they should never be more important than the story and characters that make up the heart of the game, and you know what I'm saying, the ambiance that some of the graphical pushes or the things like that, just the whole nature of gaming altogether is pushing those boundaries can make for gamers as well. And that's why we need to support the developers who take the risk and push the boundaries of what we think is possible in gaming. So whether you play on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, or something else entirely, I think we can all agree that the future of gaming depends on preserving the artistry and creativity that makes it special. We need to continue to support developers who take risks and push the boundaries of what's possible in all forms of AAA gaming development. And that's it. I want to thank everybody for coming through. I really hope this episode has given you plenty to think about. Keep gaming, keep fighting for the future of our favorite pastime, y'all. That's it from your boy, man. Y'all were killing it in the chat. I appreciate all of y'all. Thank y'all so much. Y'all mean so much to me. And hopefully this, again, am I disappointed at like the output from Microsoft? Yes, but I definitely want it to get better. I'm hopeful that Starfield is like, I'm hopeful that what happens with Bethesda is that Microsoft adds polish to their games and they come out better. I hope and I hope Bethesda and Microsoft come together and truly Microsoft supports them in creating something fantastic. I do hope that, but we're not seeing it now. And I don't want to just hope and aspire. You got to hold people's feet to the fire when they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So it's not about me not necessarily enjoying the output from Microsoft. It's more or less so, whether I was enjoying it or not, I don't like the total dynamic change that they're looking to pull. And Sony, again, is doing what Sony should be doing. Like, they're challenging it and they're throwing stuff up against the wall, as Prince Tybalt said, and hoping to see what sticks. That's what you're supposed to do. Again, let me just give you a prime example. Imagine this scenario. Investors. We noticed a 20% drop in third-party sales. Jim Ryan. Oh, yeah, it was because of the Microsoft ABK deal. Investor. Well, Jim, did we try any heavy pushback on this? It's killing profit margins. Jim. Oh, no. They said I might look desperate on Twitter. I don't want that smoke. If we think if we continue to think in this realm, we're going to be close to the gaming drought that I saw about 30 years ago with the Atari 5200. Because gaming is going to be so mediocre that we're going to be spending a lot of time on Twitter. People be doing what I'm doing now opposed to what I'm doing after this, which is playing the games. There'll be a lot of talk. There'll be a lot of yelling and screaming and name calling. There won't be any oversight over the product that we're getting. And this will all just fade. It may just fade for a while, for a substantial amount of time. It may fade forever. But I don't want it to fade at all. If you're in that same boat, you'll speak up. You'll support Microsoft doing better. They can do better, but not like this. That's it from your boy. I appreciate all of y'all. Thank y'all so much for coming through. And give me about at 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, I am going to go and start my stream here. Okay, I'm going to start it here, where we're going to examine for Horizon Zero Dawn, because I haven't finished it, but I want to start Forbidden West. I'm not gonna play through Horizon Zero Dawn. We're gonna watch a spoiler videos to catch me up, and then right after that, I'm gonna start Forbidden West. Okay, so give me about till 1 o'clock. Stay tuned. Also follow me on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, I'm at MM2K on Twitter. Follow me, because when I go live, I'm going to say something there just in case you don't get the Twitter notifications. Then hopefully around 3 o'clock, what I'm going to do is I'll be able, for about maybe a good 45 minutes to an hour, close out with a God of War stream. Okay. All right. But with that said, I appreciate all of y'all. Thank y'all so much for coming through. Till next time, have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.